subscribers, fellow Whovians. I'm going to get right down to it. This is my first Doctor Who season rankings video. I'm in my car right now, and I'm going to get right down to it. This is for season 1, so this is for the new Who. This is for Christopher Eccleston. And one more thing before I start, I'm going to rank my favorite episodes from best to worst in the comments, or in the description, and you guys can tell me what you think in the comments. So, alright, let's go. Okay, now the first episode, Rose, I can't really say that much about because, I mean, it was the first episode of New Who, so it kind of picked off where Classic Who left off. So, as much as the Autons were kind of stupid, I mean, the 80s technology was not that advanced, and we were kind of picking up where we left off. It introduced the Doctor again, though. It introduced his new companions, and it kind of developed the thought that you love the Doctor, and you hate everybody else. Because that's how I felt. I hated Rose, I hated her mother, and I hated Mickey. But I loved the Doctor, which I thought was good for the first episode. I mean, it was the first episode. It reintroduced Doctor Who to the public. As bad as it was still okay. Alright, so then we go to the future, which is the episode The End of the World, which I like because not only is Rose interested in it, but it's what all of us would be interested in. And you would think, oh, the Doctor has to save everyone from the Earth. The Earth's about to die. What's he going to do? He's going to figure out something clever. No, everyone's already evacuated from Earth, so it's kind of an interesting concept where he's not going to save people, and Rose is like, oh, why? It's kind of a touching... Not really touching, but it's sort of a feeling for all of us that it's something that's debated at the end of the world, the sun's going to expand, everyone's going to die. But not only that, he introduces the first aliens that Rose sees, and they're kind of bizarre looking. And not like that we would think they're going to look, but you see Cassandra, who I personally love. You're introduced to the face of Bo. And these tree people, they're kind of odd. Like, when you think of the classic Doctor Who villains, they're like, oh, they're robots. These people actually look like real aliens, and Rose is really confused, but the Doctor's just like, whatever. It's like usual. The story itself is okay. I like how he's not necessarily saving the Earth, but saving the people from the Earth that's about to explode. And then the fact that people do die, you're kind of introduced to the fact that, oh, the Doctor can't save everyone, and there's actually going to be sad times. And when you look back on it now, for me being a Whovian after seeing every episode, going back and looking at the tree dying, that's not the saddest moment, but at the time you think that's so sad. So it's a decent episode. It's kind of in the middle of my list. Then you go to the past with Charles Dickens. You meet Charles Dickens, and it's the first time you meet a famous person. You're like, oh, this is awesome. Doctor Who's allowing you to meet a famous person. Not only that, you're kind of introduced to these kind of weird people that have this ghost inhabiting their funeral home and possesses the dead bodies and creates what I think is one of the creepiest very creepy character of Doctor Who. And also, I like how it's appropriate that there are ghosts in a Charles Dickens episode, but not only that, that they established that, oh, it's not a ghost story. It's a story about aliens that the humans think are ghosts, but the Doctor explains to them, no, they're not actually ghosts. They're these beings that actually want to live, and the sacrifices, of course, that they give, and of course that you have to have the famous person live. And it's kind of funny to say now in school, oh, I know what really happened to Charles Dickens. So, once again, kind of in the middle of my list. Upper to middle of my list. Then we go back to the present day time, and our first two-parter as Whovians, as new Whovians. And it is been a year since Rose has been with her mother. And of course, now you really see the consequences of time, and that the Doctor can't actually make mistakes even though he knows what he's doing. Well, in this case, he doesn't know what he's doing. Now, this episode, it's good if you like the Slitheen. If you hate him, you hate this episode. The special effects, yes, I agree, they're not very good, but it also kind of creates the feeling that the Doctor doesn't exactly know always what's going on. Like, he's actually taken by surprise with this, and that's also what I kind of like about the episode. Yes, it is kind of stupid looking back at it, but it was my first two-parter, so it is lower on my list than The Unquiet Dead and The End of the World, but I mean, it is the first two-parter. It introduces Harriet Jones and kind of the fact that, Mickey and Jackie can kind of defend themselves. They're starting to warm up to the Doctor. You're kind of starting to like them a little bit better. They become more of like a hero, even though spraying a bunch of vinegar on a villain is not exactly doing much, but you know what I mean. Now, before we start going kind of downhill with the episodes after Aliens of London / World War III, there is one good episode, and it is the reintroduction of the Dalek, which it shows that there is one more Dalek left. He's completely defenseless. The Doctor knows what he's talking about, but no one else does. Especially for us new Whovians that don't know anything about the Dalek, this is a great episode because you kind of feel with Rose. You kind of feel for the Dalek, and it's like, oh, look, he's harmless. Like, the poor Dalek. And then she touches him, and all of a sudden he goes on this murderous rampage. And then you're like, oh my gosh, what a monster. But once again, you see how when no one listens to the Doctor, including you, for people who were like me and fell for the Dalek's trick, you kind of see the consequences of it, and the consequences of the Daleks, and you kind of are introduced to it, which I think it's a very well done episode. It's one of the better episodes in New Who, or in Season 1, and it's pretty up there on my list, with the along with the two-parters of this series, except for Aliens of London, World War III. Then, for me at least, it kind of goes down from here for a couple episodes, and a couple, I mean two. The Long Game and Father's Day. I'm just going to talk about it now, just immediately, both of them together. The Long Game, I felt... Long Game was kind of... It was a good dystopian idea that I feel was executed wrong. First off, I hate Adam, that companion that everyone forgets about, or people remember for being a complete... I'm not going to say any curse words, but you kind of get the idea. Then... The villains are not exactly the best villains. I mean, the dumb, like the monster on the ceiling, the weird, creepy guy that is in white. And I don't really have that many good things to say about it, because it's kind of a bizarre episode. I feel like if it was executed better, I don't know how. Maybe you can make suggestions in the comments if you like this episode. I personally didn't like it. And then we go to Father's Day, which was kind of a filler episode, which it kind of had a bittersweet feel to it, like the Father's Day. You kind of see more of the consequences of changing time. Kind of an underused villain, but that you really didn't have time to use this villain, which is kind of why I don't like it. You're introduced to Pete Tyler, the fact that Rose loves her father. You kind of side with Rose, but then you side with the Doctor, but you feel for Rose, and you're kind of torn a little bit. And then the sacrifice after you really feel the Doctor's gone. Oh my gosh, now what are we going to do? And then Pete Tyler sacrifices himself, and it's kind of sweet, and you realize, okay, sometimes things are meant to be. Even though if something happened to one of your loved ones, you wouldn't necessarily feel that way, this kind of helps you realize, okay, some things are meant to happen. And then, who knows, maybe something will happen in Series 2 that will allow him to come back. Then we move on to The Empty Child and The Doctor Dances. And immediately, when someone mentions The Empty Child, you get the reaction of, oh my god! Which is what I love about Stephen Moffat, and I love about my favorite episode. This is the top episode on my list, as you'll see in the description, because not only does it display a threat that isn't actually a villain causing things, it's actually all accidental. Not only is it that, it shows the fact that even in one of the scariest, creepiest, best episodes of Doctor Who, everyone can live. It shows like a troubled mother, a happy-go-lucky secret agent called Captain Jack Harkness, who we will all grow to love and hate, you know, in certain ways, and kind of a trio that really kind of makes the episode and kind of makes it kind of exciting. It introduces the whole, there's a lot of quirky quotes, bananas are good, the whole, you actually hear the term sonic screwdriver actually used. It's just a fantastic episode that's sort of a mystery, but a Doctor Who-ized mystery that is just a fantastic episode that is so well known and everybody knows what it is. Then we head back to present-day time once again, and when we get there, the Slitheen are waiting. And with the one Slitheen, the woman, where it's not really much of a threat, it's kind of a joke episode. I like it just because I like having multiple companions in an episode. I like Mickey, Jack, and Rose being in it together. You kind of see Mickey he's inside the TARDIS, he's helping out a little bit more, and even though he did that the first time when he, well, not the first time, this is the first time, he kind of tells them that there's things that are happening, and you kind of start to see Mickey, you kind of gain some respect for Mickey a little bit, and even though it's not the best of it, it introduces the rift in time, the power source for the TARDIS, and just kind of introduces some things. Brings back the Slitheen, kind of shows you that, oh, they do return, people do return. It's the first episode where a villain of Doctor Who is returned in Season 1, and, yeah, that's really all you can really say about it. And then we move on to the series finale, where after this, Boomtown is like, okay, whatever, because then you see that not only can things come back, you think the Daleks are gone. I mean, the Doctor established that he was the only survivor of the Time War, and you see this whole entire Dalek fleet. But even before that, you realize that the Doctor has caused this. You realize everything about Bad Wolf, which, one thing I forgot to mention, I like Aliens of London and World War III, because it's the first time you realize, wait, there's the word Bad Wolf on the TARDIS. Why is that on there? Is it significant or not? And now you see it's significant. And it's been throughout the entirety of this Season 1. And you realize that in Boomtown, the Doctor kind of realizes that, and then you kind of see every single instance where it appeared. Then Rose is taken captive. It's kind of adventurous. There's an entire Dalek fleet. You thought they were gone. Then, not only is Rose revealed to be Bad Wolf, but you see that the Doctor is not inevitable, or invulnerable, invincible, and then he saves Rose, absorbs the entire time vortex, and then you see that not only is he not invincible, it's the first time that we as Whovians are going to experience a regeneration, and we have to try to accept this because Eccleston's the only thing we ever know of a Doctor, and we're kind of with Rose on this. And then, not only does he regenerates, and then you kind of don't understand when he's like, ooh, new teeth. It's weird. You're like, who is this guy? Where's the Doctor? You're kind of with Rose here. Then he tells Rose, oh, right, Barcelona. So then you kind of realize, okay, Eccleston said Barcelona, Tennant said Barcelona. So now you know, okay, they're the same person, they're on the same track, but now you kind of get a false sense of security because if you've seen Doctor Who, the whole time crash and the Christmas invasion, everything is not completely alright. Alright, so that about sums it up. You can see my ratings in the comments, or in the description. You can make comments in the comments below. Jess, Gerson, and Rob Leslie, shout out to you. You guys are my subscribers and my Whovians, fellow Whovians. And hope you guys watch, hope you guys make comments, and alright, fantastic.